Hey all, Rick Rex here, back with another one for you on DCUO. And today we're continuing our look at Hardlight and concentrating on the ranged loadout. This one took a lot of work just to find the right thing, but I'm excited to show you one of the hardest hitting ranged loadouts we've seen so far. Now we of course are going to check out the mods, the artifacts, the allies, the build, the loadout, and yes, we'll see what kind of damage this thing puts out. But first, if you like what you see and you want more, hit that like and subscribe button to help keep the channel growing and also to not miss one single update as they drop. Okay, so Hardlight ranged. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this one fought me pretty hard on progress. The power has a few issues, and I can see where a lot of folks would get turned off with this power altogether. The instinct that you have guides you to want to run the endless combos with this power. And maybe that's just me playing through the different iterations over the years, but it ends up costing you in the end if you go down that route pretty massively. Clipping does play a super prevalent role in Hardlight, but even if you stack combo powers that you can shoot off and aim for the biggest hits up front with a clip in the end, you still end up suffering quite a bit on the damage board altogether. There's really two important things that you need to center a loadout around in this power, and then two unusual things that I don't have a tendency to use very much. But we'll get into that in just a second. So we'll start off with our white mods as always. In our weapon, we're going Blast Adapter for this one. Now I do not tend to weapon clip almost ever, so it's a rare situation when I do. But this power provides us the perfect opportunity and lines up perfectly to pull it off, so there's no sense in not doing it at all. Power is not an issue with the power set, so we don't need to gravitate towards keeping full there either, making extra damage the way to go. In our head, we're going Supercharged Strafing Run. Now I ran through all of the available super options on this power, and this one does some massively impressive things on multiple targets because of the way it hits. Now I hear what you're saying, Rick, it's a 10,000 super and I just don't want to do it. But the damage it puts out trumps anything you put it up against. This one really reminds me a lot of Big Gun for munitions, except it's not a crit or die situation like that one is. In our neck, we're going Escalating Might for the extra 2% might bump that it provides us when it procs. In our back, we're going with Berserker Damage as we don't have any cooldown issues that need to be addressed with the power set, so that means extra damage when the situation calls for it. In our chest, we're going Penetrating Strikes for the NPC defense reduction that it gives us. Now we did cross a line some years ago when the boost to damage that core strength gives us was overrun entirely by the defense reduction of penetrating strikes. So if you have not made that switch yet, it's time, get it done. In our legs, we're going Restorative Handclap. Now this one is used in the single target set, so there's no need to change this out from build to build, so we'll just leave it the same way. In our feet, we're going Tumbling Master to keep us out of trouble with all of the environmental damage that happens in today's content, and also, this really helps when you need to go pick somebody up quick, y'all. In our hands, we're going Max Damage as always for the 2% bump in damage that it gives us when it procs. For artifacts, we're going with the Trans Strat Quiz combo on this one. Trans for the extra crits that it provides, Strat to leverage those crits into innate damage, and Quiz for his Mega Blast, Refractal Beam, and the 1% super that it gives us when it goes off. For allies, we're going with the AOE Trinity on this one, Superman, Batman Who Laughs, and Shazam. Now we're putting Supes into the damage slot because of his cone ability, Freezing Breath. It hits massively well on multiple targets, making him the way to go. In our first passive slot, we're going with Batman Who Laughs for the Luck of the Draw ability to take advantage of the cards that he throws and the buffs that they provide. He is a staple of any DPS build and one that you should have and be running always. In our second passive slot, we're going with Shazam. He's the new kid on the block, but his Power the Shazamily ability gives us a 6% might bump every time we throw an ally. That's a stackable Omega that lasts 30 seconds, and that is huge, and that alone makes him the other staple of any DPS build. Now let's take a look at the build itself. Now we'll start out with our weapon, and the only points that we need to spend here are if you are not using rifle. If you aren't, throw a point in here and get that weapon. It's not critical to do, but it sure does help push this one over the edge. And for our movement mode, we're going to grab our super up top, take one on the second row of your choosing, doesn't matter which, and then let's grab our innates, acrobatics to the lower right, and everyone else to the left. And for our iconics, we're going to grab robot sidekick and freezing breath. I know, weird, right? This is what happens when you try everything to max out a power's damage. Certain things just sometimes work, and this is one of those times. And for our skill or stat points, we're going superpowered focus, we're going to max out our crit attack chance and damage, and then we're going to dump everything into might and power. Anything left from here goes straight into precision. Since we're going to be using our weapon for clip taps, we want those to count for as much as possible. With this build, it puts my might at 176,500. Now, this is super important so you can see how this build will look compared to your tune on live and know how it's going to perform. My might there is significantly higher on my tunes, so you should notice that as well. And now for the star of the show, and that's the loadout. So we're going with Chompers, Light Blast, Freezing Breath, and Minigun. And we're going to round that out with Robot Sidekick and Strafing Run. Now it's time for a breakdown. Okay, so we have Chompers that we're going to use for its PI and also the dot that it does, or damage over time. Now, as a disclaimer, this is not the hardest hitting PI applicator overall, but it does push the loadout because of the damage over time, and that causes more opportunity for crits. Thus, it's going to make the strategist card work even harder than the other ones. Then we have Light Blast. Now, this is a finisher, but it's unique to Hard Light because it hits multiple targets. And in its possession is, of course, one of the hardest hitting sequence of combos available to the power. Then we have Freezing Breath. Now, I don't usually care for this power as it tends to cause most loadouts to lose damage, but what Hard Light lacks in big burst damage, Freezing Breath actually makes up for. And then we have Minigun. This power hits so many times it's ridiculous, and it's also in possession of the quickest clip of the combos that are available, which makes it perfect. So our rotation here is wildly different than a normal loadout, so buckle your seatbelt because this one's going to take a second. Now you'll see examples of this in the slowdown coming up so you can really get a good idea of the timing of it. But we start out with Chompers and then we go directly into Light Blast. Now we need to let Light Blast run as long as we can and then hold range to combo into Minigun. Once again, we need to let it run as long as we can. Then we need to tap range combo into Ram. But here we want to clip the animation with Freezing Breath as quick as possible. Freezing Breath has 4 ticks of damage to it and is a channeled power. To get the most out of it, we need to get the timing down and weapon clip this power with weapon tap right before the 4th tick hits. And then we run Minigun, and once again we want to let this one run as long as we can and then tap range combo to Ram and power clip with Chompers. Super complicated, but once you get it down, it's actually pretty easy. That equates out to 1, combo 2 twice, clip with 3, on the 4th tick of that power, clip with a weapon tap, combo 4, clip with 1, and rinse and repeat. Jeez, that's a lot, but it's worth it in the end, y'all. Now let's check out what kind of damage this thing puts up. Okay, great. Whew, this thing is a damage board killer, y'all. So we'll go ahead and start out with the bad as always, if you want to call it that. Our low comes in at 200,605 damage per second. Now, the thing here is that I missed the weapon clip and it cost us some hits. And this was one of two that I did this on, and they're just outliers, and I'm not even going to consider them when looking at the total numbers. Our high comes in at a ridiculous 285,335 damage per second. Hard light. Folks, avoid this power. Okay, nothing to see here. But the loadout looks to live at or average out to the upper 230s to lower 240s, making this one of the hardest hitting setups out there for might powers. Even though this one is, well, ridiculous, it's time for my favorite part. Let's drop everything. I swear this power is ridiculous. I just can't get over it. Our big hit comes in at a yet to be seen on any power 3,258,405 damage per second. That's right. For those of y'all sitting in the back, that's over 32.5 million in damage in 10 seconds. You want to melt some ads? This is the way. Now, we followed up that crazy hit with parses in the mid 260s and upper 280s before settling back down into normal range. This power rocks. Well, y'all, that wraps up Hard Light Ranged. Stay tuned for the melee build up next, and that one's sure not to disappoint either. Thanks so much for joining, and once again, if you like what you see and you want more, hit that like and subscribe button to help keep the channel growing and also to not miss one single update as they drop. I'll see y'all next time.